Do you ever find that one mistake can ruin your day, or when you try your best, it still doesn't feel good enough? Then you might be dealing with perfectionism. Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Vartanian, licensed marriage and family therapist, and today I'll be answering some of the most commonly asked or Googled questions about what perfectionism is, what causes it, and what can be done about it. So let's dive right in. So, our first question for today is perfectionism anxiety. So a lot of times perfectionism, at the root of it is thoughts like I need to be perfect in order to be lovable or good enough and worthy. And sometimes even our worth or sense of self has become attached to the external stuff, like how much we succeed or achieve or do well. So when we have that kind of pressure to keep on succeeding, keep on achieving, to feel worthy and to feel lovable, right? Eventually, like those behaviors and those thought patterns can lead us to experience anxiety, right? So just to kind of clarify, perfectionism itself is not some sort of like anxiety disorder or something that you would diagnose as a mental health disorder, but those behaviors and traits and thoughts related to perfectionism can cause anxiety, right? Or maybe there is some sort of reliance on perfectionism because of past experiences where there was a lot of chaos and uncertainty, and those might have caused anxiety disorders. And then we turn to perfectionism in order to feel safe and in control in prevention of like discomfort of when we come across uncertainty, right? So I hope that helps make sense. If you're noticing that perfectionism is causing anxiety, know that you're not alone, and mental health resources like therapy can help us unlearn some of those habits, like the things that maybe served us once before and are no longer serving us. Like we don't have to feel stuck anymore. So therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, can help us work through some of those challenges that comes with perfectionism. Is perfectionism a coping mechanism? That's a great question. Perfectionism isn't some sort of like anxiety disorder, right? But it is those behaviors and belief systems that we turn to in order to survive. So, as an example, like if we had this experiences growing up, whether it's at home or at school, where we received some sort of like kind of harsh criticism or feedback that didn't feel good in our body or good about ourselves, then we were doing anything and everything we can to prevent going through those like feelings of shame or inadequacy or insecurity. And we're trying to build connections with people too. Growing up, that's essential for survival for any living being, really. So we're kind of looking at clues as to what's accepted and approved versus isn't accepted or approved. And we're leaning towards things that are going to make us feel safe and connected. So depending on those experiences or messages growing up, then we might have gotten that message of I need to be perfect in order to survive and be accepted or loved. So we might avoid making mistakes or failing or getting into trouble and breaking rules. So anything that feels like it's putting us at risk of being rejected or not loved, then we're really trying our best to avoid those things from happening. Another reason why it could be a coping mechanism is if we were brought up in an environment where we didn't get a lot of like set rules or expectations that helped us feel like secure, like things are predictable and there's certainty, then we might have turned to perfectionist traits in order to feel safe and in control of things. So if there was a time where it felt uncomfortable because there was chaos or uncertainty, then perfectionism might have been that tool to use, that resource. Like if I can plan everything from A to Z and prevent any uncertainties, then that feels like that sense of safety and control feels safe in the nervous system for a while. But over time, when we're relying on perfectionism more than we need to anymore, like maybe out of habit we're relying on it, then even things like planning or avoiding mistakes can become a lot and too much for the body. So resources like mental health therapy can really help us figure out how to manage perfectionism better, right? Instead of perfectionism kind of taking the wheel, you get to learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you moving forward. Okay, so our next question, why do I fear making mistakes so much? Yeah, that's a very common trait that comes with perfectionism. So at some point or another, like there might have been some experiences where you received some sort of like feedback that felt very critical and or shaming and judgmental when you were making mistakes. Like let's say there was times where you were learning at home or in school, maybe during extracurricular activities like playing sports, where someone or some people weren't great at delivering their feedback without it making it feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me, right? So, or that, yeah, mistakes are not acceptable or not allowed. Like, we're not allowed to be flawed and make mistakes. So, those kind of upbringing and messages and reactions that we're getting around us kind of create this thought process and belief system that it's kind of dangerous or it's not safe to make mistakes because we at some point like our brain receive some sort of maybe negative reaction that didn't feel maybe emotionally or physically safe. So that could cause a lot of built up fear inside of us when we're making mistakes and it feels like we're doing something wrong and this isn't okay and doesn't feel safe in the nervous system. So again, the good news is we can, just like anything else, like with therapy, we can unlearn those experiences and feel safe in our body again. Okay, and embrace imperfections. Okay, so our last question. What's the difference between healthy standards and perfectionism? Yeah, ooh, this is a really great question. I really like this one. That kind of question or topic does come up a lot in the type of work that I do. So a great way to be able to differentiate between what's considered healthy standards versus perfectionism is is simple but maybe like harder to practice at first. It's really learning to like pay attention to what your body is feeling. Like if it feels calm and connected and maybe confident with some self-trust, you're likely operating from a place of healthy standards. Like you have more open-mindedness to making mistakes and accepting that things are going to go perfectly, right? There's less pressure, expectations to meet these standards perfectly, especially the first time or first couple of times around, right? That's your clue, like how your body is feeling, right? Or the thoughts that are going on through your mind and those expectations can be your clue of whether or not it's healthy standard versus perfectionism. Because on the contrary, on the other hand, right, perfectionism is going to be like a lot opposite of the healthy standards, where perfection is going to set a lot of unhealthy or unrealistic standards and expectations, and our worth is attached to the outcome and expectations, right, and getting those met, which could cause a lot of stress and anxiety. So usually the clue is how is your body feeling and what's going on in your narrative, like the inner dialogue, right? Are you criticizing yourself or kind of staying open-minded to mistakes along the way and seeing it more as growth versus a reflection on who you are? So those are all our questions for today. I hope you found them helpful. If there's anything else I can answer, please feel free to drop your questions in the comments below and I can make another video like this. Thank you so much. Take care.